Yes, sir.
Okay. So when we say about directive, what's the definition of directive? This question you
Directive
are
aids
going to face.
The
direct,
Hmm.
DOM element.
direct, directive aids the extra behavior to the HTML element.
Right? Likita, it's not a DOM element. What's the DOM element? Likita, what's DOM element? Any HTML element is a DOM element. Okay. Directive is only limited with Angular. DOM element is from HTML. Fine. Now, simple definition of directive is directive will add extra behavior to the HTML element. Okay. Let's say ngif directive. What's the purpose of ngif directive? It will hide and show. ng for it will create new element. ng class it will add dynamic class. So it is adding some extra behavior to the existing element, right? So that's the definition. So when we talk about directive, we have uh, structural directive. Structural directive will contain ngif, ng for. Then we have attribute directive. We have ng class, ng style. Then component is also kind of a directive, but it's with the HTML. Component is also a directive, but with an HTML. Then we can create our own directive. That is we call as custom directive. Fine. These are the four types of directives we have. Clear? Now let's create a folder directives. First, very basic and the easiest one we will see. That is the highlight one. Okay. ng generate. Now what we have to create directive. So d
Okay.
highlight. See. Okay. Let's see. Let's use the pipe component. Now, if you see, we have this text, we have this text. What I need to do, if I mouse, if my mouse hover on this particular element, I need to highlight this by adding some different color. When I remove it, I need to remove that color again. Understood? When my mouse hover on particular element, I need to highlight that particular element by adding some font color. And when I remove it, again I need to add the black color so that it will look as it is. Understood? This is the functionality we have to do. Without directive, can we do it? Whatever I have said right now, if you don't know directive, how you will do it?
On
Yes, we
hover.
can do
And
Yes.
add. Uh,
pseudo element, pseudo.
Right? Pseudo element means by writing CSS on hover, we can do it, right? But same thing we can do programmatically also. Because in CSS, you cannot write the condition or something. Let's say based on some condition, you need to highlight it. That you cannot do in your CSS, right? So that's why this example is there. Now, in our directive, this is a directive. See, one more. What type of directive is, what is the decorator this? What type of decorator is this?
Class decorated.
Class decorator. Okay. In class decorator, we have so many types of decorator at the rate injectable, at the rate component, at the rate module, at the rate pipe, at the rate directive. Okay. Now, so this is my directive. So this is my directive name. I have highlight. So this I can add on my HTML tag. Let's say on this p tag I'm adding like this. Okay. But to use directive in this component, again, you need to import it also. The rule same. Okay. So what is that? Highlight directive. Import it, then only you use it. Okay. Here I'm adding, then third column I'm adding. Now what I will do in constructor, I will just add console.log. See properly. Okay. This you understand. So remaining thing you will understand. Hi. Okay. So in my directive constructor, I have just printed a console, and this directive in my pipe component, I have added at two places. Okay. So see now what happens. We should get two console printed. See, highlight executed, highlight. Why we have got two times? Pipe executed again, I think. Okay. So see, pipe HTML got executed two times. So that's why two times your directive got executed. Means in this component, we have used our directive two times. So that directive got executed two times actually. Okay. Here also it got executed and here also it got executed. Understood? Now, in what do we say? Let's say you want the reference of element in JavaScript. How do you get the reference of element to add a dynamic style?
Get element by
Captain
ID.
the variable.
Right? Document.get element by ID. See, those who are those who are not good with JavaScript, if you are preparing, make sure your JavaScript also good with basic only. Means that document.get element by D, get element by class, query selector, whatever things are there. Make sure you have good sense of it because in interview they are going to ask it also. Basic thing only. Okay. Now, so we need to add a dynamic CSS that is color red or something to this particular element. So wherever we have added this directive, on which element we have added this p tag, this p tag. Okay, let's add S3 over here instead of P3. So whatever the element we have added this directive, we need to get a reference of that element and we need to add a dynamic style. Okay, so in constructor, we can create an instance of private element ref colon data type will be element ref. What do we mean by element ref? Ref is the shortcut for
Reference.
Template
right.
reference.
So reference, wherever you have added this directive, that element reference you will get it over here. Wherever you have added this directive, that element reference you will get it in this variable now. Okay. Now here in the constructor itself, I am adding this dot element ref dot native element. Where we have seen this native element? Where we have seen this native element?
Like
Hmm?
in the HT forms, we get the like form, whole form, like
No. Native element where we have seen. Arey,
View child.
view child na. We
I
have
think it is in DOM, sir.
no.
View
View
child, view child.
child. We have seen this view child na. See, to get the HTML element reference, there are two ways, right? Element ref or the view child. Okay. So view child, native element dot style dot color I need to add is equal to value I'm passing red. Okay. So see, whenever my directive initialize, I'm directly adding a color, font color to that. Guys, be on mute now. Some background noise is coming. If you are talking, then only unmute. Okay. So when my directive is getting initialized, I'm adding color to style color to that particular element. See, here it is added and here it is added. Understood? So what I have done, once my directive initialize, I get the reference of that element. Okay, let's add a debugger and let's see that. I'm adding a debugger over here. Let's reload. See element reference. What I got? P. First element was P na? Continue. Second element S3. Understood? So that element we got and we are just adding a dynamic style to it. So whatever we used to do in JavaScript, that everything we can do over here. In ViewChild also, we used to get the reference of the element and we used to add a dynamic style anything, right? Just like that over here. We are adding dynamic style over here on that particular element. Understood?
Yes.
Okay. But currently what is happening? Once the directive initialize, there only we are adding a color. But what I need, once I hover on it, then only it should add. Now here comes the events, okay, that are called host listener. What is host listener? Now this is our directive. This directive we are adding on this p tag and on this h tag. So for this directive, this p tag become the host, and for this directive, this s3 become the host. Understood? The host word, one which is on dependent something you can say. So
Yeah.
this directive we are adding on this particular element. So this become host for this directive. Host. Okay. So that is what, if you want to write or if you want to capture any event happening on this element, so there we use host listener. If you want to capture any event happening on this element and you want to write something on that in the event, so there you use host listener. Understood?
Event in the sense hover also come
Hover,
under the.
click, every event. Whatever the event can happen on this element. If you want to write a code on that, so you will use host listener in the directive. Clear? Okay, let's see. Now, how do we
What
write?
is a host listener here? Then
That's
we
what I'm
can.
saying now. See, for this directive, this is the host.
Yes.
This is clear.
Mhm.
Now, what are the events happening on this element? If you want to write a code on that event, so you will write host listener event on this directive. Let's say user hover his mouse on this p tag, so that is event happening na. And if you want
Right.
to write a code on that, that you will write in the host listener. Okay, so in our directive we have to write host listener,
Okay.
round bracket, event name mouse over or mouse in. Let's see what is that. Then your event, okay, on mouse over. Okay, so see, this is also directive. This is sorry, this is also decorator. What type of decorator it is? Method decorator, because we are adding this decorator above the function. So this is our method decorator. Okay. Now, so in this decorator, what we need to do, this dot, whatever we have written it over here, this we will remove it over here and we will add it over here. So if this event type is correct, now it should work. Let's see. Yeah. See, if I hover, it is adding. Let me add a debugger over here. Let's reload one more time. If I'm adding debugger on line number 15, okay. Once my mouse hover on this particular H2, see, your function got triggered and it will add a color. Same like this. See, understood? It's like click event. How you write a click event? No? It's just a way around of it.
सर ये होस्ट लिस्टनर को डायरेक्टिव के अंदर ही लिखते हैं या फिर
Component, we can write it in the component also. But scenario what we are showing is in the directive. So we will write it in the directive. Normally, if you have a scenario that in a component you need to write some event on particular element, you can use host listener there also. Okay. Understood? So host listener means whatever the event happening on the host, means wherever you have added that directive and whatever the events happening on that particular element, you can write an event on that like this. Means instead of writing clear mouse round bracket mouse in, instead of that we write it like this. So we are dynamically listening to the event happening on that element. Understood?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Just like this, one more. Now, once user hovering on this mouse, we are adding a color. Once user remove the mouse, we need to remove that color also. So another host listener. @HostListner. Now event will be mouse out. These are nothing but JavaScript event only, okay? Nothing related to any directory or something. On mouse left. Okay. Here we will just add the black color again. Save. Okay. See, now I'm adding debugger on both the places. Mouse in. Continue. Okay, mouse over or what? Let's see. Okay, no, correct. Let me remove the debugger. See, getting it? So what it actually doing? It is adding on mouse over, it is executing this function. And when you leave the mouse on that particular element, it is executing this. So we are adding black color again.
But where are we calling these functions? We are not calling them, right?
That's what I said now. We are dynamically reading events.
Then why to write it in a function? Like,
See, this directive you are adding in the HTML, right? If you right click over or mouse event over here,
we'll call a function.
you call a function over here from over here.
Right.
But if you do that, then that's not something reusable, na? Right? This is will be static. Now, if you write a whatever we are writing over here, if you write a normal click event, then in your component only you need to write that function. Correct? Then let's say in this component you are having this requirement to highlight. Let's say again in the component you need to have a functionality to highlight. Again you will write that same code in different component. So that's not reusability, no?
Yes.
Okay. So in case of directive, see once again I'm explaining. This is our directive. This directive we are adding on this p tag. Okay. So whatever the events happening on this p tag, we can capture that event and we can write we can write some coding on that event. So this p tag become the host for this directive. Okay. So in the directive to capture the event happening, to write the event, to write the code on particular event, we listen to the host, whatever the event happening on that host listener, what event we are checking, mouse over. If this event triggered, this function will trigger. Understood? If this
Can
event
you
triggered, this event will trigger.
Can you once show like how did you define the directive? Like what have you written?
Ng generate directive and directive name.
Okay.
Ng generate d highlight. Okay.
Okay. Once you show the HTML code,
HTML only we added in the over here like
app
this.
highlight. Okay. Where is
Whatever
this app highlight?
this directive name.
Okay. Okay. You
Okay.
just directly. Okay.
Sir, host listener without app highlight डायरेक्टिव पे भी काम करेगा.
Host listener.
वो HTML में जाइए एक बार.
हम्म.
जस्ट उसके ऊपर वाले टैग में. इधर भी काम करेगा क्या?
नहीं.
ऐप हाईलाइट डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा.
हाँ ऑब्वियसली ना. ये डायरेक्टिव ngif जैसे ngif काम करता है. हाउ डज ngif वर्क? Whatever the element you add, there only it will work, na? Right? Same is like that. ngif default directive they have given. This is our directive. Wherever you add this directive, there only it will work, na? Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a small question.
Yeah.
Go to apply directive. That it has to be must, or their function has to be must after the decorator.
Yeah. See, this is a decorator, right? And which type of decorator? Method decorator. So obviously you should have a function after this. That's what I didn't see. If you don't write this is a normal function. This is never going to execute. Okay. By writing directive, you are saying on this element, wherever you have added this directive, on that element, if this event trigger, then you have to trigger this function.
So if I put those 14 to 16 number line after 23, No, after 22, will that
No, again,
execute?
how it will execute? That's the syntax. Now I'm saying above the after this the decorator, if you have a function, then only it will execute. Okay,
Mhm.
that's the syntax you can say.
This is same like
Okay.
add event listener in JavaScript.
Yeah, add event listener.
So like whatever events that are happening on that
We can
uh,
write even click,
directive, we can, yeah. So we can
all
use
the
the
events. If you
same
need to
click
write click
class.
event, so what you will do
You'll just click,
on click and here mouse event
click
click.
on, yeah. Okay, got it.
Fine. Let's show the alert.
So instead of writing these actions on the elements, we are having them in one place in the
Yeah,
directive class.
dynamic something, right?
Mhm.
See now. Got it? Understood? So this is your directive custom. Just like ng, if ng for ng class, ng style, now you have created your custom directive with custom set of rules.
So we can use this in any component.
Yeah, now any component, no?
Okay.
That's the use. It is reusable now, right?
We can just give the name of the directive in for that element, and we can directly
Right.
access this. Okay. We can say an ng class or ng.
Let's say in ng for we will add.
That's the question they asked me today in the interview.
Hmm.
That how you can show the user character by character.
User.
Show the word to the like character by character to the user. Like let's say if there is any read, I gave the answer that we can implement the read mode button right with the ng directive.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
read
right
more.
answer or
Right,
not?
right. Means this you are saying now.
Printing
Front
letter by letter.
Show less,
front
show more.
But it
This
has to be reusability across the
this you
application.
are saying
Mm, yeah, but it has to. They
it
asked
will
me
go
it
to
has to be.
component. You can manage this by directive also, but basically it should be another component for handling this kind of scenario. A reusable component we should create for this. We will create
Okay.
this. Okay. Let me just remind me. Fine.
Okay.
Okay. So now in ng for we are adding the directive on button. Okay. To use that directive again, we need to import it also. Highlight directive. Let's see. It's added. See. Getting it? Understood? So now this is something reusable which we have created, which you are able to add on all the element. Clear? Understood all? Directive.
after host listener,
Hmm.
the method name could be anything, right?
After host listener,
We use the method name, right?
right? That can be anything. Na? That is your function.
Anything. Okay.
See, it's like on this event, you are triggering this function. Method name can be anything. Na?
Okay.
It doesn't have to do
Okay.
anything. ABC,
Okay.
anything. Okay. Whatever
Okay.
function you have written after this line, that will execute if this event triggered. That's it. Everyone clear? I know those who are learning for the first time, it might be little bit tricky to understand like how it is happening and how it is connecting that. But give it some time, you will get it. Okay. At least learn the syntax, how we have to do it. You create the directive in constructor, you create a reference of the element, then host listener, what are the element events we have, and you create a function and whatever the logic you need to write, you will write it in that inside that function. Syntax. Okay. For now, at least do this. After some days, when you create multiple directives, you will finally start to get it. Okay. Clear everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's see one more example now. you know that how you disable the directive, means disable a particular element, right? Let's say someone will tell you you want to create a directive which will disable particular element based on some condition. Okay, you want to create a element. Let's say when we work on a project, there are so many scenarios where we have to keep some elements disabled because the value of that element are going to be handled by API side. Some values are going to be entered by user and some values are going to be created by API side. So you don't want them to be enabled. So what normally we do, we use disable flag, right? See now, let's say in post API, we have this, let's say username. And let's say in your project, username is going to be automatically created by API side. You don't have to create it. So you have to disable this. How you will disable this text box? How you will disable this text box?
Use disable property.
Right? In
Yes.
post API function,
Dis-
what you can normally do?
Disable.
Disable
Disable
it.
or read only. Right? This will disable it. See, I'm not able to type because I have used read only. It won't look that disabled. But if we add a disable property, see, okay, either read only or disable. So in this component, you have done it. Let's say same thing again, you need to do it another component also. Again, you will use disabled, right? In that other component also. Okay. Acha, in reactive form. See here only. In normal HTML form, you were directly using the disabled attribute. So it was disabled. But in reactive form, this should be your property binding. Then only you can disable. Okay. Now in the same two component, things are changing. Why it's not disabled? Disabled. False or true?
True only, right?
It's not getting disabled.
No need to give in the double quotes.
No, without double quote, how you will pass the value?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has taken. It is taking that. It should give error. How do you disable it?
Is disabled.
No. But regardless of the HTML form, we should be able
Check.
to add.
Try to inspect and check if it is applied, like disabled.
Disabled is equal to form. User form, not invalid.
In reactive form, but it's a pure HTML. Either it is reactive form or template form. It should not vary. Disable it is adding, but it's not disabling. Okay, let's try read only. It's read only. We are not
Set
able to type.
property
Yeah.
property branding, right?
Sir,
Okay.
this is a template or a reactive form?
Reactive. In template,
Then,
directly it work, no?
sir, then it is we have to add with the is disabled like that. Then it will work, sir.
Means.
Within the brackets, disabled and is equal to disabled.
But same thing now. Either you pass true over here directly, or that value will come from a variable. Correct? One and the same thing. You are saying.
Yes, sir.
But you actually included the form control also. But it will work, sir.
You are saying like create a variable and then pass a value to it, right?
Yes, sir.
But same thing, na, either this value you are getting from a variable or directly you are providing a value.
Both are same.
Oh no, but it worked. No, it didn't. How come? Saying both are same thing, na? This variable value to this property binding is directly over here or it is coming from your variable. Same thing it should. Okay. Let it be. Let's not waste time. Now, how do we now just let's say currently you just want to disable, but let's say there is some condition and based on that condition you want to disable. Let's say logged in role is something. If the logged in role is this, username will be automatically created. And if the logged in role is something else, so user has the functionality that he can create it. Means you have to disable, but that is condition based, right? So in that case, everywhere you need to write the code. Let's say in this component you want to disable it, so you will wrap it up. And you will pass some value over here. Let's see if this working or in template form or not first. Yeah, in template form it is working, but in reactive it is breaking. Strange. Okay, so consider you have to disable particular things in your project if the role is particular this. Okay, let's say if role is employee, you want to disable some particular field. User won't be able to edit particular thing. Those values API is going to add. Okay, if role is admin, then he can edit all these. API is not going to add those things. Admin can edit those things. Understood? So now same kind of scenario, you have to add it in multiple components. So you will check the role. If role is this, you will enable the text box, otherwise disabled. You will create variable and that variable you will pass it to the HTML. But again, like in every component, you have to check the role and you have to write that code. So instead of that, what you can do is you can create a reusable directive for that. Okay. So just we are going to create a directive which will help us to enable and disable the particular element. Okay. Let's try now. So in directive again, I'm creating one more directive. Ng generate directive disabled. Okay. This will create a plain directive. Now, so normal HTML thing I'm explaining now. So this is my element, right? Do we have something ID? No. Let's give some ID to this element, ID, txt, uname. Okay. So this for this username, I'm giving some ID. I'm just explaining the JavaScript code. Then I will explain the directive. So see, this element has a ID txt uname. So let's get the access of that particular element. Document dot get element by ID, round bracket, double quote, ID. So by writing this, we will get the access of that element, right? Now I need to add a attribute. I need to add attribute to this element. So how do we do that? Set. Why it's not suggesting?
Set attribute.
Yeah, but it should suggest now. Set attribute. Okay. Then see, every element have different properties or attribute. What are the attributes we have for the element? Class, style,
For
min length,
Style.
max length,
Yeah.
right?
for
ID. These are
ID.
nothing but attribute. So all the attribute we can set in JavaScript by using this method. Now what
yes
attribute we need to use?
for
Disabled.
this
Okay. What value you will pass? True.
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 Okay. See, it got disabled. Understood now?
Yes.
And if you have to remove it, just like set attribute, we have remove attribute.
Oh, okay.
See, understood? This is your plain JavaScript. Now this same thing we have to move it into our directive. Understood? Whatever we have done by using JavaScript, that same thing we have to move into Angular in our directive. Fine. Now, so obviously here we are going to need the element access. So what do we need? What do we need it over here?
Element ref.
Right? Element ref. Because we are not supposed to use the document.get element by ID directly. We should get the access of this element like this, right? So over here, now we don't need any event on once the component, once that directive load, immediately I need to disable it, right? So what I can do, this dot element ref dot native element dot, what it will be?
Background color.
No, no, set element,
Text
na?
box.
Set element. Here, see, document.get element by ID, but this will give you a reference of the element. And same over here, this will give you the reference of element. After that, this line, right?
Set attribute.
In case of style, we were adding style. Now we just need to add a attribute. So set attribute. Okay. Let's try. Now this directive, I will add it over here. So once my directive initialize, it should disable, but it won't disable. It's not disabling. Anyone? Why it's not disabling?
Sir, host listener didn't add it.
Right? See, directive, we are using it over here, but we need to use it also, na? No, not host listener. See, when we have to disable this, once your text box
On
render, then
loading.
only, not on any event, on load only you have to disable. So there is no need of host listener, right? We just didn't imported it in your class. What's that? Disable directive.
Direct.
Okay. No, still it didn't execute. Let's see. Disable directive. Element we got. Set attribute method. We are passing disabled and true. Okay, now it disabled. First time I think catch issue was there. No, it is disabling again, then
And
it is
enabling it.
enabling. Why? We don't have anything code written like that over here. Nothing is there. How it is disabling and again enabling?
So is there any lint issues like that for this VS Code? Does
Is
it
there
blocking?
any
Lint issues. I mean, we have a extension in VS Code, sir.
lint issue? No, lint issue won't. Uh, that is just limited to VS Code. It won't actually change your HTML, na? Lint is only for this VS Code, just for our code checking. It cannot do that. Instead of constructor, let's try it on once your what do we say, value got changes. So ng on changes we will try. Implement on changes event. Ng on changes, because once directive is getting initialized, it is adding. But after that, I think template form is doing something, and then again it is initializing it. So instead of doing it over here, let's try it over here. Not happening. Ng on changes is getting triggered or not? Let's see that first. Ng on changes didn't. Okay, sorry. When ng on changes will trigger? When this will trigger? Ng on changes?
On input changes, sir.
Right? We don't have input, so it won't change, right? So let's say instead of ng on changes, which lifecycle event we should use it over here?
ng on it.
Ng on it or after we win it? Once my HTML got loaded successfully, then we should run this code. So let's try
Yes.
after we win it. Try this. Now it got executed. No, but again it's removing. So set attribute is not working. Let's pass it like
Post
this.
binding you can use.
Hmm?
So, or do we go with
Post
ng
binding.
do check?
No.
Because of
ng do check also, see what is happening now. Our template form is getting reinitialized. So I think whenever your template form get reinitialized, it remove whatever we have attributes over there. That's why it is again removing it. Set attribute. This is correct only. Property is disabled. Spelling is also correct now.
so means you're expecting for every change detection, we have to. Uh,
No, consider like once you are directly initialized, we are disabling it. That's it. Not on any change detection or something. Whenever my directive initialize, I'm sure I'm disabling it. Code is working, it is disabling, but again it's getting enabled. Maybe because of template form only it is doing like that. So might be possible template form when initialized, it might be removing all disabled and everything because we have that control over there also. Okay, so instead of this ng control we can have, how do we disable by using ng control? But we need to pass the reference of the ng control. Just like set attribute disable, read only is also there. Now let's try read only. And not read properties of remove. Okay, element ID is not there. Let's try read only. Oh, I'm able to try. Let's try to search it. Directive to disable element in Angular. Renderer. Why do we need renderer? Renderer dot set attribute, then your element reference, then disable or true. By using renderer we can do it, or directly HTML we are not able to do it. Let's try with the renderer. Let me just try it, then I will explain the renderer. Okay.
so, are we creating our own directive for this?
Yeah, this is our own directive, no? Let's try this if it works. This is also not working. Not working.
So, I mean, you're telling us after loading, we have to disable the property, right? So, I think the ng on change will work on this because we are not
But again,
writing any condition.
we need input over there. Let's create at the rate input. I didn't explain the input now.
Decorator, input decorator. Okay, okay.
Is disable by default false I'm setting, and then instead of this on changes we can write ng on changes, and this property I will pass it over here. Okay, it needs string type of data. Okay. Fine. Now, since this directive has an input, it's like a property or something value. Okay, see, in this directive we have created a variable, but above this variable we have added some input. This I'm going to explain tomorrow. Okay, just for now we are stuck. So let's see. And why it's giving error? Okay, single quote. Let's see now. Mhm. Disable directive, or your value didn't change. So let's create a variable is disable is equal to by default false.
Sir, instead of writing a single condition in ng objects, so I think it is good to take with the if-else conditions, sir, because
But see,
in
if else also same thing now. Either you are writing it in the if else or you are writing it directly. Same code is not going to change. Same code will go into if and else condition.
okay, okay.
Right? So that should work. Okay. Now that chain detection won't trigger because of that I'm creating a variable. By default, I'm assigning it true. And after 2 seconds, I'm changing the value. And now this variable, I'm passing it over here as a property. Okay, we need to make this false string value it needs. True. Let's try now. Now it is disabling. So it needs ng on changes, then only it is disabling. But same thing we were calling it on the page load also. That time it was not working. Let's try without renderer. After 2 seconds. Okay. Directly also it is not working. With renderer only we can change the value. Let's try one more time. So with renderer only, we are able to manage it now. Okay. So see, what I don't know, let me find the reason also why it was not happening previously, and on ng on changes it is happening. Okay. So again, as I said, in template form, it is doing something. So that's why it is removing all the attribute like disable, enable. That might be the reason. So whenever your input value change, again it is means after your template form got initialized properly, then you are able to do that. Okay. So now just like element reference. So element reference is like you use wherever you add the directive, that particular element reference you get it over here in element ref. Now just like element ref, you have something render. Previously up I think up to 13 or 14 we had renderer. After that it some things got changed and we have got renderer too. Now from your directive you can create element also. See, directive is like component is the only directive where you can have HTML. But from your directive in .ts also you can create the element. Just like in script, can we create directive in script in coding JavaScript?
Yes.
How? How we create element in script tag? Means dynamic element, right? How do we create dynamic element in script, JavaScript?
Query selector or something.
No. How
In
do
the
you create
HTML
dynamic element? Those who have learned JavaScript from me.
ID.
What ID? How do you create a dynamic element? Let's say you have a text box,
In
you
the
have a
HTML.
button.
Input dot create element.
No, man. Document dot create element, now we have seen na.
Yes, correct. Document dot create element H1. Side brackets.
Document dot create element, what element you want to create, that element name, right?
Yes, correct.
So in JavaScript, we used to do that. Similar kind of thing we can do in Angular by using this renderer. Okay. Now if I show you this dot renderer dot see, you can add class, you can append child, create comment, create element, create text, insert before, listen, remove child. Some property they have provided it. Not everything what you can do in JavaScript, but some of it they have provided it. Understood? So a, you can create your own HTML also over here, and that HTML you can append it to some HTML from your parent component wherever you are adding this directive. One example I have created custom tooltip. Let's say you have to create a directive which will create a tooltip with some value. So by using directive, you can create an element and that element will have some CSS and everything that will look like a tooltip, and you can add that tooltip on the particular element. So then direct this renderer will be helpful. Renderer will have some functions like if you want to create some new element and that element you need to add it. Let's say this is a directive where we have added it on this label. Okay. And once user hover his mouse on this element, you have to show that tooltip. So that tooltip you can create over here means document.create element, you will create a tooltip. Let me show you how do you create a tooltip. Create tooltip JavaScript. See, this is kind of a div you will create and it needs some CSS like this. Position relative, it should show wherever we are having it, right? So where is the working version? Right? This kind of thing I'm saying. So this is like when you hover, you will create a dynamic element and you will append that element on this host element. So this same thing you can do by using your what do we say custom directive. So this is like static, right? So this you will create it dynamically. Document.create element span. Then you will add a class, and this class you need to put it in your global style.css. So when user hover on that mouse, you will create an element and you will append that to this particular host. So that is also possible. So for those things you use renderer. Previously it was renderer. Now I will check the version like from where we got render to, but renderer got deprecated and now we have renderer 2 only. Okay. So you get to see so many things like adding a dynamic class, appending a child, create element, right? Like this. So you will create element, you will add some class to it, and then you will append that child to this wherever you have added this. So then on that element, that tooltip will appear. Okay.
Sir, is render is a package or a service, sir? Because I never
Service,
seen service.
service.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Whatever we put it into constructor, those are service only.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Understood? So this is how you disable the directive again, because that form control and everything I have not done because in my project we use it, ng control we use to disable it because there are so many, we pass the reference of the reactive form, control name we pass, and by using that control access, we disable it. Means here instead of in normal string value, we pass the control, means reactive form control. You got the control, then control dot disable, you can use reactive form. Okay. So in my project, we mostly have reactive form. So we have created a directive to disable it by using the form control. Okay. I know like
Sir,
this might be confusing a little bit. But again, in the project, again, we will see that in project we have two roles, right? Employee management project, HR and employee. So HR can do everything, right? But employee can do certain things only. He can add his experience and his bank detail only. Remaining detail he cannot update. So we are going to create a directive to hide or convert that text box into some span or something like that. So that if the logged in role is employee, he won't be able to edit those things. And if the logged in role is HR, he can have everything. So here you will check the logged in role and based on that you will hide or show something. Okay. Again, we will see that. Yeah. What is your question?
Yes, sir. Actually, days back, just I went an interview, company called Grid Dynamics.
Hmm.
They asked me around two questions. One is NG container, and another one is I
NG
think
template.
no, sir. Only the specifically talking about that.
NG container and
And one more tip is not about of that. No, actually the prototype, sir. Exactly. So I said
prototype
that
in
for
Angular.
no, sir. In regarding JavaScript, they asked in
Okay, read
two
out. Oh.
questions in separate.
Hmm.
So for prototype, I said that it is used to create. I mean, create some flexibility to the old browsers
Hmm.
to act like a new browser functionality, right? But I
No.
said it is a good practice to work on that. But
See,
somebody is
again,
satisfied.
how he
Yes,
will
sir.
satisfied? I am not
No,
satisfied.
no, somewhat, sir.
See, what is prototype? Prototype lets you to add new functionality to the existing one. Okay. Let's say you have created this function animal. Okay. Here you have the parameter. When you invoke this function as by using new property, whatever the value you pass, that gets stored over here. Okay. This is your original function. Now in this function, you need to add a new property. So this function, everything, whatever you create in a JavaScript has a prototype. So you are adding a new function to this animal prototype. So animal dot prototype speak and one more function into it. So inside that, what you are writing console.log, there you are accessing variable and make a sound. This property you
Yes.
have added. Again property it, and this function, this it property has a parameter also. So whatever, see dog.it, you are passing a parameter, dog.speak, no parameter. So you are extending the behavior of this function. Polymorphism from C++.
No, sir. No. Actually, thing is, it basically just said that. So if a browser is not accepting the ES6, which is for suppose take as a
No,
Internet
that
Explorer.
is polyfill.
Okay.
Let's say
Yeah, for polyfills we
that
can.
is polyfill.
Yes, yeah. I got you, sir. Okay.
So Internet Explorer was there, right? The
Yes, sir.
older version.
Mm.
So let's say, wait,
IE11 like that.
somewhere I have written that in Angular. Yeah, polyfill.
Sir, what this polyfill does?
Yeah. See, this include method, which will work on array, right? It will check whatever the value we pass, it is there or not. Include method from the array,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So this is available in Chrome, Edge, Safari, and all the browser. But Internet Explorer, the old browser, it doesn't have that.
Mm.
Okay. So if your application is going to be getting used in Internet Explorer, so there your code will break. This include will break over there because in the older version doesn't support this method. Okay. But you have to, your application should work properly, right? So in Angular, you will create a polyfill.ts and there you will import this. So wherever you are using that application, it will load this particular library, particular function from this library. So now in your Internet Explorer also, this code will work fine. Otherwise it will break. So
So that's
polyfill.ts
what
is,
they
yeah,
this question being asked today. How you can improve the browser
it's
acceptability, whatever accessibility.
right. No, accessibility is again something else. It,
Access, I mean, we are going to add the attributes of the particular
right.
element for semantic elements or non-semantic
Semantic
elements.
or
It is
no,
totally different.
not that also. Let's say you are creating an application which is going to be used by a person who is not, who cannot see,
Physically
Disabled person,
disabled like that.
color
disabled
blind,
person, right?
color
So
Mm.
blind
there
something.
comes the accessibility. We use that alt tag on every element. Let's say
Focus,
I'm over here.
Color contrast.
Color contrast, or let's say once my text box active, I will play a sound. You are in email, then he will type. When I next tap, this element got active, I will say you are in full name. I will play a sound. So user will know where he is. Then he
नाही
will
मी
type.
बॅगेतच ठेवणार आहे खाली तर.
Guys, mute.
Actually, this comes under keyboard traversing, sir, because we are
Right?
using with tab
So
key,
this
right?
is accessibility to make your application accessible to impaired, disabled person also. That is accessibility.
What's the meaning of browser accessibility or something like that?
So browser accessibility will, like, let's say you have created this function, you have created this UI, but this same UI might look different in Safari or Internet Explorer. As I said, na, like this include doesn't present in IE, something like that. Some things are there with CSS also. Some CSS won't work in IE. So your application should look same on different browser. Then again, by using media queries and everything, we write a CSS according to that specific device also. So that is browser accessibility, means your page should look same in different browser. Understood?
That's gonna be handled through the CSS,
CSS
right?
by using media queries. If it is related to some functionality, we use polyfills.
And one more question: how you can improve the Angular app efficiency,
Performance, na?
performance?
Yeah.
Okay, I told them those control flow statement we can use, right?
The control flow statement is there. First,
Oh,
first answer should be your component should have that chain detection disabled. On push strategy should be there for reusable component. That's the first answer you should give. Okay.
Okay,
Then
and they asked me like how you can measure that how much time your page is taking, what are the tools you can use,
hmm,
how you can debug, how you can actually load the track the time of the page.
so for that, now what we normally do a custom way, like you will create function. Okay. Let's say you created one function over here. This function you will directly call over here on the first line, and there you will record the time. What's the time? Okay. Then one more function you will create, add one more function you will create, and directly you will call it over here, and here you will record the time. Okay. You got the starting time from at the top, and you got one more time at the end. You minus that, you get the loading time. This is our way, but there are some tools also to capture the loading time and everything.
And they asked me uh, how we can publish the Angular library if you created one Angular library.
Hmm. So in GitHub we can do that. One article is there. Uh, publish.
Sir, I stuck most of the question. It was about 1.5 hour interview. They asked all theoretical.
Yeah, yeah. But publish library, you should they should not ask. You have to create an Angular element, then npm account, npm login, then npm publish. So many things are there. Just go through this one time. It's not an easy thing.
How you
So
can how
why?
you can test it before publishing it.
Hmm. These are question for team lead. Again, team lead also, if he has hosted anything, then only he can tell.
Sir,
See, in
actually, thing is that for each and every day doesn't have any access to publish the website, right? So that is the main issue, sir.
no, that is publishing your website. What he asks is like create your own library and host it on GitHub. Sorry,
Okay,
npm.
okay, okay. Okay,
Okay.
okay, okay.
That question, how do you publish your application onto server? That is very common. You can say like I don't have access. Our manager or TL can do that. But ng build, they are asking you. How do you create a
Distant,
build? Right? So ng
yes,
build,
sir.
by using ng build command, you will create your build, and that dist folder you get, that you deploy it onto the server. This is process what you can say. But again, you have to be a smart. Like in my project, we don't do the deployment. We have DevOps team to do that. Or our manager or TL has the access. We don't have access. That's it. Your answer, even though he is asking again thing, na, you said already that you don't have access. So you cannot know everything. But how do you deploy? We write the ng build command and you get the build, and that build you put it over there on the server. This answer you can give. Okay.
Okay.
Ask promise and observable difference.
Yeah. So like we have seen, na, promise won't unless you have dot then it won't check like dot then is there or not. It will execute. But in case of observable, unless it is someone is subscribing to it, it won't execute. Lazy and that.
सर आजकल मतलब ये वाले क्वेश्चन नहीं होते हैं अब तो सीधा मतलब
नहीं, ये क्वेश्चन अभी
मतलब
रहे नहीं है। इन्होंने जो क्वेश्चन पूछे ना ये अभी
हाँ
बचे नहीं है। आई डोंट नो
नहीं
व्हाई यू आर गेटिंग दिस
प्रोमिस
क्वेश्चन।
ऑब्जर्वर जैसे
अब लोग
पूछा
इसके आगे
पूछा
बढ़
ना
चुके हैं।
हाँ प्रोमिस ऑब्जर्वर आजकल पूछते नहीं अब तो वेब कोर वाइटल्स
हाँ,
हाइड्रेशन और मतलब
इसके
विल्ड
आगे
की
बढ़
साइज
चुके हैं
कैसे कम
लोग, मैं
करना
वही बोल रहा हूँ।
बिल्ड की साइज कैसे कम करना वो सब पूछते हैं अब तो
राइट। तो ये बहुत पहले क्वेश्चन, ये बहुत फेमस क्वेश्चन है।
What's the
आप
meaning of abstract control? Abstract control क्या होता है?
क्या?
Abstract
कस्टम बिल्डिंग
control.
Abstract control is just what we write to form control, na? In reactive form, we write form control,
Yeah.
right? This, a data type of this is nothing but abstract control. Let's try to go into definition.
एक क्वेश्चन पूछे थे आज मुझसे 1.5 घंटा.
It's not going inside that. It's just a data
And
type
one
of
more
form
thing,
control,
one question is
abstract
here,
control.
sir.
Hmm.
Difference between switch map and the exhaust map.
Yeah. Switch map
Yeah.
is we can say like let's say example is like when your one API call is going and same let's say you have a search box. Okay, you are searching something and once you search you are making the API call, right? See, everything is over here. Huh? Try to go through it.
So the best
सर ये
example
तो
is for switch
See,
map
अब
is if the user want
ये
to
तो
get ID, but the ID comes from by the username, right?
no, that's not switch map. Let's say you have a search box above the table. Okay, and once you type, you are making the API call and you are getting the data. Okay, but for if let's say user type AB, you make the API call, and before response came again user type ABC. So the previous API call, does it matter now?
No.
Right? So you need to cancel out that previous API call and consider the latest one. So that's the use of switch map. It, let's say one API call is in progress. Okay. Again, before getting the response of that API call, one more API call is there. So previous API call, it will cancel it out. That's the use of switch map.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
But
Exhaust map
today I
again.
got the
Yesterday
different
also I
answer.
got that question, but I also didn't prepare the exhaust map. I was also not able to tell that. See, so many things I have
I mean,
created.
for exhaust map, it will ignores the previous value. I mean,
Previous.
like
I
like if
mean,
you are working
No, then
if
vice
you are
versa it will
working
be. See, switch map will ignore the previous value. So vice versa of switch map and exhaust map, they are asking it combined, right? So exhaust map will let all the API call happen parallelly. Switch
and
map,
for the current condition.
yeah, switch map will cancel the previous. It will consider only latest one. Okay, it will cancel the
yeah
previous API call. So
in
exhaust
exhaust
map,
map
it will behave vice versa. I think it will
no
have.
in exhaust map they like if any observer is came like currently you are working in any in one observer if any observer again any observer is came they will exclude that observer that exclude and they are working on currently only like after currently work
But same
completion
thing only, na
of
then. Here also
no
we are
no
doing the same thing.
ना ना स्विच मैप में सर हम डिस्कार्ड नहीं कर देखो सर नहीं
डिस्कार्ड
ले
नहीं
लेते
करते
ना
स्विच मैप में हम.
स्विच मैप
डिस्कार्ड
में तो हम
मतलब
नहीं
क्या?
काम कर नहीं नहीं मैं हिंदी में बताता हूँ सर
हम्म,
स्विच मैप में तो हम नया ऑब्जर्वर ले लेते हैं मतलब
हाँ,
पिछले वाला कर लेते हैं
कंसिडर नहीं
कैंसिल
करते.
और नया उठा लेते हैं
हाँ.
पर एग्जॉस्ट मैप में ये होता है कि आप करंट ऑब्जर्वर पे काम कर रहे हो और
हम्म,
उस बीच में कोई नया ऑब्जर्वर आ गया तो जो
हम्म.
नया ऑब्जर्वर आया ना उसको हम एक्सक्लूड कर देते हैं हटा देते हैं नहीं हम
अच्छा, नया को
नए
नहीं करते. ओके.
No,
हाँ
sir.
उसको
Actually,
एक्सक्लूड
thing
कर
is
देते
that
हैं
a
हम्म,
simple example for exhaust map. So if you are clicking for suppose taking a login page, sir.
हम्म.
So based on XP.
हम्म.
So if you are clicking in twice or any multiple times,
ओके.
then it is going to
हाँ, हाँ,
be
हाँ.
stop the current
Existing API
previous
call.
execution.
हाँ.
Exactly.
Okay,
So
great,
it is
great.
a perfect
Understood.
example for that.
See, the example is like, hmm, let's say you have a login page. Okay. On click of login button, you triggered an API. Okay. And before response is not there, again user clicked on the login API call. So should you cancel out the previous API call?
Not possible, sir.
No.
No, na? So there we have to use exhaust map. So it won't consider the latest. It will consider the existing one. But in switch map, the
Current. Yeah.
opposite. It won't consider the existing, it will consider the new.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
So see, again, I will add that.
So what my thinking about the switch map is,
Mm.
in simple language, let's say I don't have an ID of the user, but the API is designed that you send the username, I will give you the ID,
Mm.
right? I
No,
send
no,
the
no.
username,
No, no, no.
I
Wrong.
get the ID, and
Wrong,
that
wrong.
ID,
Wrong. Wrong.
I don't know.
See,
पर मेरी अभी let
नहीं
me continue. Let me
अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं, वो गलत ही अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो गया ना। स्विच मैप का काम क्या है? एपीआई कॉल से समझो। लेट से तुम्हारे पास टेबल है, टेबल के ऊपर सर्च बॉक्स है। ओके,
continue.
लेट से तुमने टेबल में अमेजोन कंसिडर कर लो ना।
Mm-hmm.
अभी अमेजोन में देखो, मैंने ए बी लिखा। ओके, अब यहाँ पे बहुत
Okay.
फास्ट रिस्पॉन्स आ रहा है, लेकिन एक्चुअल इसमें जैसे मैंने ए बी लिखा, तुम्हारा एपीआई कॉल हो गया चालू।
Yes.
लेट से वो एपीआई कॉल का रिस्पॉन्स आने से पहले मैंने एबीसी लिखा, तो पुराने वाले एपीआई कॉल का रिस्पॉन्स का कुछ मीनिंग है क्या ए बी वाले के साथ?
They will cancel out. No.
Okay. Actually, it will comes with the debounce time, sir, because after
यस,
the some milliseconds, it is going to
इट
give the
विल
new
वेट फॉर सम
result.
मिनट, दैट इज अनदर थिंग. What I'm saying, let's say you don't have debounce on anything. For every text box value change, you are making an API call. Okay. Let's say you type A, API call will trigger with A. Then B, API call trigger with AB.
Mm-hmm.
C, right? Let's say MOBILE. You type MOBIL and you wait. Your API call will trigger, right? And again
Yeah.
you type mobile. Now the previous API call with MOBIL, it doesn't make sense, na? Because again you have changed your search keyword. So whatever the result you get, you will consider for mobile. So the previous API call which was made with MOBI, that should cancel out, na? We don't have to consider that. समझ रहा है क्या करण? बहुत इजी है, देखो तुम्हारा टेक्स्ट बॉक्स है,
मैं
यूजर
समझा,
जैसे
पर
टाइप
स्विच
कर रहा
मैप
है
में जब हम मैप के अंदर स्विच मैप लगाते हैं,
वो अलग
उसके
है,
अंदर
वही बोल
एक
रहा हूँ।
उसके
तुम
अंदर फिर एक
वो मैप
सब्सक्राइबर,
ऑपरेटर है, वो मैप ऑपरेटर है।
स्विच मैप बोल रहा हूँ।
हम्म,
पाइप के अंदर हम स्विच मैप का एक कॉल
हाँ,
बैक फंक्शन जो होता है वो लगाते हैं
ये
ना।
लगाया मैंने यहाँ पे एपीआई कॉल।
हाँ,
यही है ना, मेरा सर्च को पैरामीटर भेज रहा हूँ।
जिसमें पाइप लेट्स से स्विच मैप जो
कंट्रोल की
पीछे
वैल्यू
से जो
चेंज होने का,
रिस्पॉन्स आया है, लेट्स से
मैं
जो
वही
आपने
बोल रहा
स्विच मैप
हूँ,
में जो
तुम वो मैप बोल रहे हो, मैप अलग है। रिस्पॉन्स
Bro,
जाने से पहले
actually,
स्विच मैप है, वो मैप
yeah, actually
रिस्पॉन्स
think.
आने के बाद वाला मैप है।
पर दिस रिस्पॉन्स इज कमिंग फ्रॉम द फर्स्ट एपीआई, राइट? दिस RES
Which RES? No, this is not
in the switch
this is
map.
not
If you
response.
see switch,
This is not response. This is text box value. This is not response. This is text box value where we are written search control. ये ये फॉर्म का कंट्रोल वैल्यू, ये टेक्स्ट बॉक्स वैल्यू चेंज होने के बाद जो वैल्यू है ना टेक्स्ट बॉक्स की, वो मिल रही है यहाँ पे। दिस इज नॉट रिस्पॉन्स, रिस्पॉन्स इज ओवर हियर, एपीआई रिस्पॉन्स,
okay, you are
सब्सक्राइब,
doing based on the form control, right?
फॉर्म कंट्रोल। सो
But
तुम्हारे टेक्स्ट बॉक्स की वैल्यू
if
जा
we
रही है।
take two HTTP calls instead of that form control
दैट इज मर्ज
subscribe,
मैप, दैट इज मर्ज मैप. One API call, you get a response of one API call, and that response you
let
want to pass
me
it to another. That is merge map. Let's see merge map.
वैसे सर वो सही बोल रहा है, मतलब हमको जब दूसरे ऑब्जर्वर से, मतलब सोर्स ऑब्जर्वर से कोई रेस्पॉन्स मिलता है उस
I
हिसाब से
did
बोल रहे हैं वो।
today
और वो डेटा तुमको दूसरे ऑब्जर्वर कॉल को भेजना है, सो दैट इज मर्ज मैप. कहीं पे तो भी मैंने किया होगा मर्ज
so let
मैप.
me
Yeah, Karan, one thing is that,
सी,
so actually switch map works
hmm,
for only for such and those
right.
type of topics only. So you may not
Be
include with
limited.
the
See,
map and yes.
be limited.
okay
कि
sir.
switch map we use in search functionality only with debounce. That's it.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm sending you the code
Hmm.
in the chat. So can you go through that I just sent the
Wait.
uh,
Open. हाँ, so
In this case,
no, why you will write like this? It will work, but this is not the right use of switch map. Getting it? This will work, but this is not the
so
right
what's
use of.
the, can we go through the Angular
See,
official,
the
what's the,
actual
what
use
do you
of
say?
what I'm saying now, why do you need Angular? Switch map is like cancel the previous observable and consider the latest one. Okay. In this scenario, you are going to get only one observable. Okay. You are not going to get multiple observable over here. You are going to get only single observable.
Yes.
Okay. See, you have a scenario like you are getting a data from one API call, and by using the response of that API, you want to trigger another API call. This is your scenario.
Yes.
So this is we use by using map operator simple. See, this is that example what I have did. Same thing what you have done. Here I am calling the user API. It will get you all the response, and from that response, first API call you are going to you are going to. Okay, no, where is merge map? Subject. Wait.
Actually, it is getting the ID based on, I mean, getting the data based on the ID, sir.
Yeah, so that's why
Sir,
merge
this
map
is
is
So,
used.
this, this is from ChatGPT. Yes, today
Yeah,
I was.
see, ChatGPT, you cannot trust everything. It will work with switchmap also. It is going to work because switchmap will get the previous observable and you will get it over here, right? In this case, you are reading the data from your observable, that is search control. Instead of this, you can have a API call also. API call is also going to return the observable type of data, and value changes is also going to return the observable type of data. आपको डेटा ऑब्जर्वेबल कहीं से भी मिले, वैल्यू चेंजेस से मिले या फिर एपीआई कॉल से मिले, वो ऑब्जर्वेबल का डेटा आपको यहाँ पे मिलेगा स्विच मैप में, जैसे यहाँ पे मिल रहा है, तुमने एपीआई कॉल लिखा,
Yes.
बट स्विच मैप का फंक्शनैलिटी क्या है कि तुम्हारा एट अ टाइम मल्टीपल, एक ऑब्जर्वेबल ट्रिगर हुआ, तुमने उस ऑब्जर्वेबल
सर,
के ट्रिगर पे,
आपके केस में कैसे कैंसिल कर रहे हैं प्रीवियसली, वो बताओ।
अरे यार वही तो
आपने यहाँ
बता रहा
पे
हूँ तब से
कहाँ पे
मैं।
कैंसिल किया है लास्ट?
कैंसल मतलब ऐसा वर्ड नहीं लिखते हम।
स्विच
लेट
मैप
मी,
की वर्किंग है वो।
रुको, ये एग्जांपल दिखाता हूं मैं। इधर लिखा था मैंने। ओके, ये मैंने कंट्रोल बनाया रिएक्टिव फॉर्म, ये मैंने एचटीएमएल को कहीं पे तो भी बाइंड किया होगा, ठीक है, यहाँ पे बाइंड किया है। हम्म,
सर वो क्या बोल रहा है कि इनर जो ऑब्जर्वेबल है वो कैंसिल कर देता है, जो उसके अंदर इनर होती है।
तुम चैट जीपीटी मत रेफर करो, वो बोलेगा तुमको, वो नहीं समझेगा ना, वही बोल रहा हूँ मैं, चैट जीपीटी कंफ्यूजिंग करेगा। यहाँ पे ध्यान दो, ये अगर समझता है तो। क्यों नहीं रन हो रहा है? अरे यार स्टॉप हो गया ये।
सर मैं दूसरी वहां पे भी देख रहा हूँ कि ऑफिशियल डॉक्यूमेंटेशन पे भी।
तुम हर जगह देखो, स्विच मैप का वही मीनिंग है। स्विच मैप, डिबाउंस, ये सारे एक ही साथ यूज करने के लिए बोले जाते हैं। आर एक्स, व्हाट्स द कंपोनेंट राउट नेम, जिनको नहीं पता ना वो ध्यान मत दो, तुम लोग बहुत कंफ्यूज हो जाओगे, अपना बाकी है ये सब। ओके, दोज हु आर न्यू, यू डोंट हैव टू लिसन टू दिस।
Sir, can we leave that session
या
now?
यू कैन लीव, जस्ट
Okay.
हु आर ऑलरेडी अवेयर ऑफ दिस, दे ओनली स्टे। अब देखो, ये मेरे पास सर्च बॉक्स है करण, अब
हम्म।
यहाँ पे एपीआई कॉल देखो, हाँ, एएसडी टाइप किया, एएस पे मेरा एक एपीआई कॉल हुआ, वो देखो उसने कैंसिल किया, जो लेटेस्ट वाला है उसी को उसने कंसिडर किया। क्लियर?
यस।
तो
कोड
जैसे ही
दिखाना
तुम,
इसका।
यही कोड है, यही कोड है, यही कॉपी पेस्ट करके मैंने यहाँ पे डाला है। सो स्विच मैप क्या करता है, एक ऑब्जर्वेबल चल रहा था मेरा, उसके बाद नया ऑब्जर्वेबल आया तो उसने पुराने ऑब्जर्वेबल को कैंसिल कर दिया। अंडरस्टूड?
यस।
ठीक है। अब यहाँ पे किधर गए, जो एग्जॉस्ट मार्क वाला था, ठीक है, सर्च कंट्रोल। अब यहाँ पे स्विच मैप की जगह क्या स्पेलिंग है, एग्जॉस्ट, यही ना? ठीक है, एग्जॉस्ट मैप
एग्जैक्ट
करके
करेक्ट
देखते हैं।
सर।
अब देखते बिहेवियर कैसा है। ठीक है, मैंने एएस टाइप किया तो ट्रिगर नहीं हुआ, ब्रेक हो रहा है क्या? ट्रिगर क्यों नहीं हो रहा है? एग्जॉस्ट मैप कैसे काम करता है फिर? यही है कि कुछ दूसरा है? कहाँ से आ रहा है ये एग्जॉस्ट मैप? नहीं वेट, कुछ तो भी गड़बड़ है। ये कहाँ से इंपोर्ट हुआ है? हाँ, आर एक्स से तो हुआ है। नहीं ना, एग्जॉस्ट मैप कुछ अलग है क्या? लिखने का तरीका क्या है एग्जॉस्ट मैप का? अच्छा हाँ, एग्जॉस्ट मैप मैंने इवेंट के साथ किया था, तो जो तुमने लॉगिन वाला एग्जांपल बोला ना, तो एग्जॉस्ट मैप में क्या हुआ था, ये जो फंक्शनैलिटी है, अब ये दिखाता हूँ मैं, ये कहाँ पे किया है मैंने, लॉगिन बटन। नहीं तो रहने दो, फिलहाल मैं यही क्लियर करता, ये मेरे को क्लियर है मैंने कैसे किया था। जो तुमने लॉगिन वाला बताया ना, वो सेम मैंने किया था, लेकिन व्यू चाइल्ड के साथ किया था। ओके। अब करण तुम ध्यान दो पहले, एग्जॉस्ट मैप में देखो, अगर मैं यहाँ पे, ये मेरा स्विच मैप के साथ है, लेट से मैंने स्विच मैप नहीं लिखा, तुम्हारे जैसे टेक्स्ट बॉक्स की वैल्यू चेंज हुई, तुम्हें एपीआई कॉल करना है, ठीक है? अब मैं ये एग्जॉस्ट स्विच मैप वाला कमेंट कर रहा हूँ। जैसे मेरी वैल्यू चेंज होती है, टेक ये सर्च कंट्रोल की जैसे वैल्यू चेंज हुई,
हम्म।
डायरेक्टली मुझे सब्सक्राइब करना है।
यस।
ओके, और मुझे एपीआई कॉल ट्रिगर करना है, ये वाला कोड जाएगा यहाँ पे। ओके, और इसको मैं सब्सक्राइब करूंगा। ओके, अब देखो इसके साथ क्या होता है। अपन अभी जैसे ही मेरे टेक्स्ट बॉक्स की वैल्यू चेंज हुई, मैं एपीआई कॉल ट्रिगर कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है?
हम्म।
क्या हो रहा है, एपीआई कॉल क्यों नहीं जा रहा है?
So in the NWJS we mention RS, it is RES.
नो बट एपीआई कॉल तो ट्रिगर होना चाहिए ना।
Okay.
एपीआई कॉल ट्रिगर क्यों ट्रिगर नहीं हो रहा है? क्या ब्रेक हो रहा है यहाँ पे? ये हो रहा है, उसके बाद मेरा दिस डॉट एच टी टी पी डॉट गेट, एपीआई कॉल क्यों नहीं ट्रिगर हो रहा है? ये दिख नहीं रहा है मेरा यहाँ पे। हम्म, अब देखो, ठीक है, क्लियर कर रहा हूँ मैं। ए टाइप किया, बी टाइप किया, सी टाइप किया, क्या हो रहा है करण?
कॉन्टिन्यूसली वो कर रहा है, पीछे वाली को कैंसिल नहीं कर रहा।
कुछ मीनिंग है क्या इन एपीआई कॉल का?
नो।
राइट। सो ये अवॉइड करने के लिए हम क्या करते, स्विच मैप करते। अगर यही तुम स्विच मैप से देखो, तो तुम्हारा पिन प्रीवियस वाले जो एपीआई कॉल है ना, वो कैंसिल आउट कर देगा, कि बिकॉज उनका कुछ मतलब ही नहीं है। और ये डिबाउंस टाइम डाल रहे हो कि 3 सेकंड वेट करे वो। ओके, सो स्विच मैप का फंक्शनैलिटी ही यही है, दूसरे किसी सिनेरियो के साथ कंफ्यूज मत होना। क्या हुआ, सेव नहीं हुआ कि
स्टिल
क्या
इज
हुआ?
गोइंग।
नो, वेट, क्यों जा रहा है अभी ये? क्या निकाला अपन ने यहाँ से? बीच में अब डाला
मे बी सर डिस्टिंग अंटिल चेंज्ड वो कर
नहीं
रहा
ना,
होगा
उसका
कैंसिल।
कुछ ये पुराना ही कोड है ना, ये तो पहले से ही कमेंटेड ही था, पुराना ही कोड है ये अलग है। डिस्टिंग अंटिल चेंज का अलग है कुछ। सेम कोड क्यों फिर से काम नहीं कर रहा है अभी? पहले हो रहा था ना कैंसिल, वही तो दिखा रहा था मैं। ठीक है, ये बोल रहा हूँ मैं, रिस्पॉन्स आ गया था उसका, क्योंकि जैसा ऑन प्लेस होल्डर है बहुत स्पीडली रिस्पॉन्स आता। ओके, ये कैंसिल हो गया। ये रिस्पॉन्स आने के बाद, मतलब जैसे ए बी टाइप किया है, इस एपीआई कॉल का रिस्पॉन्स आने के पहले ही मैंने एबीसी टाइप किया, तो ये वाला मेरा कैंसिल आउट हो गया।
हम्म।
ओके, सो स्विच मैप हमेशा यही सिनेरियो में यूज करना है, दूसरे सिनेरियो में मत ही यूज करो। जो तुमने सिनेरियो ढूंढा ना कि एक एपीआई कॉल का रिस्पॉन्स आया और उस एपीआई कॉल का रिस्पॉन्स दूसरे एपीआई कॉल भेज रहे हो, वो मर्ज मैप से होता है और सिंपल पाइप मैप ऑपरेटर से भी होता है। ठीक है, चैट जीपीटी को अगर तुम पूछते हो ना, तो उसको पूछो कि इज दिस अ राइट वे टू डू दिस और एनी अदर ऑपरेटर इज देयर। तुम चैट जीपीटी यूज करते हो, तुम जो पूछोगे ना वो जनरलाइज सॉल्यूशन देता है, नॉट गारंटी कि एवरी टाइम वो कोई भी देगा।
सो अच्छी तरह सीखना है तो फिर RxJS की डॉक्यूमेंटेशन फॉलो करें।
वो समझेंगे क्या तुमको? वहां पे पूरा स्ट्रीम स्ट्रीम बोला जाता है।
वो तो बहुत हार्ड है भाई।
ये रेफर करो ना यार, मैं कर रहा हूँ ना, जितने भी यूज पूछे जाने वाला है ना, मैं भी प्रिपेयर कर रहा हूँ, यही तुम फॉलो करो ना। एग्जाम्पल के साथ मैंने किया है, इसकी रेपो भी देता हूँ। जो मैंने किया ना वही सेम तुम करो तुम्हारे प्रोजेक्ट में। ऑब्जर्वेबल कितने तरफ से, कल मेरे को क्वेश्चन पूछा था कि हाउ मेनी वेज देर आर वी कैन क्रिएट ऑब्जर्वेबल, ऑफ
हम्म।
और फ्रॉम। ये बताया मैंने। फिर वो बोलता है कि ऑफ और फ्रॉम में क्या डिफरेंस है? ऑफ का एक ही बार सब्सक्राइब हो जाता है, पूरा अरे तुमको मिल
सीक्वेंशियल
जाएगा यहाँ पे। और फ्रॉम
या
में
इट
वन बाय
इज
वन मिलेगा। पहले नागपुर मिलेगा, नागपुर के लिए सब्सक्राइब एग्जीक्यूट होगा, फिर नागपुर ने वन बाय वन। अब ये मैंने
सर एज ऑब्जर्वेबल भी रहता है ना?
as मैंने भी नहीं देखा यार।
वो सब्जेक्ट को कन्वर्ट करता है
किसमें?
ऑब्जर्वेबल में।
बट
ऑब्जर्वेबल में।
सब्जेक्ट इज बाय डिफॉल्ट
सब्जेक्ट खुद
ऑब्जर्वेबल ना।
ऑब्जर्व है।
बट मैंने एक देखा था प्रैक्टिस में कि जब उसको गेट
सब्जेक्ट खुद
करते
ही
हैं
बोलते हैं
तो
कई
ऑब्जर्व
डिटेक्ट
सीनियर जो
करता
होते
हूँ।
हैं ना।
सी, जितना डीप जाओगे उतना डीप है, हमें अपना प्रिपरेशन लिमिट करना होता है। हर एक इंटरव्यू में एक दो क्वेश्चन
Yes.
ऐसे आने आने वाले हैं जो तुमको नहीं पता, अब वो भी प्रिपेयर करते बैठोगे ना तो हो गया। गेटिंग
और
इट?
एक पूछा था कि हॉट ऑब्जर्वेबल और कोल्ड ऑब्जर्वेबल
मेरे
में
को
क्या
भी पूछा
डिफरेंस
था कल,
होता है?
मेरे को भी नहीं पता ये। मेरा भी क्वेश्चन
पुराना
खाली
क्वेश्चन
गया।
है पर पूछ लेता है कभी कभी।
मेरे
Pranav,
को नहीं
come
पता,
again.
मैंने नहीं
What is
किया
this
प्रिपेयर।
question?
हॉट ऑब्जर्वेबल एंड कोल्ड ऑब्जर्वेबल, व्हाट इज हॉट
I
ऑब्जर्वेबल एंड
never
कोल्ड
had
ऑब्जर्वेबल?
heard about that, sir.
I also
Sorry.
never heard. Yesterday only I heard.
Okay,
Might be
okay.
something we are already using it, but we don't know like that is getting
Yeah,
called
the
this
terminology might be different, I think.
terminology. I asked him also. EPAM. Anyone know EPAM? Interview
Yes,
was with
sir.
EPAM. So it's like they were so focused on HTML, CSS, and RxJS only. They didn't ask me Angular also. And very deep they were going. In TypeScript, they have asked me required mutation. Like I said, these are all things I'm hearing for the first time. Have anyone
Immutable and
used required
immutable.
in TypeScript? Required?
For input tags,
No. TypeScript
TypeScript required.
in
No,
required,
sir.
right? So after interview, I clearly asked him like, because I was in Accenture, I'm working for Citibank. So directly I said, like I'm thinking like I'm Accenture and Citibanks are very using old technologies. Directly I said, because how you can expect like things you are using in your project, you cannot expect that
Today I give Citibank interview.
person will know everything you are using over there. So doesn't mean like it is very generalized outside also. In
Yeah,
Angular,
the thing is that, sir, if we are not using that means, do they expecting from their project or they simply searching the Google and just asking
sometimes
those questions?
sometimes happen also, like they are just googling and answering asking it also. Then I ask him like, do you really use all this thing? So he
No,
said, yeah,
sir.
we use it. Might be they might be using it. we get frustrated sometimes because if you
Actually, the thing is, if we are not using those new topics in our current projects,
you
then
cannot
how do we answer, sir? Because for a person, it is good to answer. If they're extending some more topics to elaborate that, then how can we face them? So because we are clear for each and every year, we are ready to face. I mean, clear the interview, right? So if they're asking those type of typical questions, then how can we survive, sir?
And every time you are going to get some new questions like this. So that's what I said, limit your preparation, because for every interview question you will get and you will start preparing, it will be very hard. Right? So limit your things, whatever generalized normal things are there, be prepared with that. That should be okay. Okay.
And in JSJ, they asked about a DBZ. What is DBZ? This kind of thing.
TBZ.
Temporarily dead zone,
Temporary dead
TDZ,
zone,
sir.
Yeah,
that we
temporary.
have already
Okay,
seen.
okay. Yeah, but the full form I don't. I
Yeah,
know that, but the short form is not.
actually, we are using daily
ये सब कौन
basis.
पूछता है TGG?
Where it is.
No. Actually, the thing is, if you are not using any variable for that,
TBZ. In case of
Yes,
It's
yes,
latent
yes.
forms.
related to hosting.
TDZ.
Yes.
Yeah, that I know, but they asked me the short form, so I don't remember.
Exactly.
Sometimes asked to elaborate what is TBZ. Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's connect tomorrow.
Sir, Suritesh, could you please connect me regarding the mini projects website? Already just
I have
requesting that.
I have interview to at 9:30 or something.
Chetan, can you share that learning partner GitHub link, that one?
Yeah, I will share it in the group.
When what you're expecting from that website? I mean, are you expecting any total rewriting the HTML page like that? So is there any?
No functionality. It's a plain HTML pages only. That's what I said. Plain HTML pages. Functionality will be there, like we have to create a JSON of YouTube videos and programming tasks that we have to render it, but it will be by using JavaScript, not by Angular. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Fine. We will connect.
Okay. When could I expect your call, sir?
Around after 12, we can connect.
Sure, sir. Okay.
Fine. Okay. Let's connect, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.